two, three, four. One, two, three, four.
Welcome to the Crypto Queen Perspective. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the live stream today. We're here to explore digital assets, blockchain, and the stories that shape this space. I do not endorse any project or company. This content is all about awareness and education. Remember, nothing here is financial advice, so always do your own research and consider your own risk tolerance. Now, let me introduce my special guest today. Today, I have Anastasia, who is from Hype. She is the lead or head PR of Hype. So I would like to welcome her, and we're going to dive in today into storytelling and the attention economy. So let me get her up on the stage. Hey, Anastasia, how are you doing?
Hey, Crypto Queen, how are you?
Really well, thank you. Welcome, and thanks for jumping on the live today to talk about some important things in the crypto space.
I sure think so.
So I just wanted to ask, if you could sort of go into a bit more depth about your background and what excites you about being in PR and Web3.
So about my background, I guess. I grew up always loving storytelling. One of the things that my mom used to say to me when I was little was, paint me a picture with your words. Tell me a story with your words so that I can see it, so that I can be there. And that kind of always stuck with me ever since I was really little. I always knew that I wanted to be a writer and a communicator and someone who kind of explained things in a way that not only made sense, but made people care about it. And so that's what I went off to school to do, to my dad's dismay. And then, after several years of working in communications, I spent about 5 years in manufacturing, doing all of the communications for the Illinois Manufacturers Association, which was a very fun time. But after COVID, I pivoted into crypto and have been loving doing the communications work ever since then. So now I run the PR department at Hype Partners, where we've got several clients from all over the space, some of the big names that everybody knows to some of the startups that you're going to be hearing about very soon. Really, really love working in this space and seeing all of the different cycles and how all of it goes, and excited to be a part of it as it moves forward.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Anastasia. So I guess what I really want to touch on today is diving into the storytelling, but also the human side of tech and how communities connect. Like for me, IRL events are really important, but what do you think is important and why stories matter more than the jargon of Web3?
Yeah, I think in tech especially, we can really get so focused on what's going on or what we're building or the problem that we're trying to solve that we forget that the communities that we're building along with it and everybody who's going to be using this, those are all people. All of this is a people game at the end of the day. We're working on really, really advanced technology, but we're all doing this for the sake of each other and humanity. And so every client that I work with, there's a group of people behind this project, and each of them, without fail, they're going to end up putting pieces of themselves into what they're building. And so their story and who they are inevitably kind of becomes at least a core part of the story that is told about the product or the business that they're building. And with that, that's kind of what resonates on the other side, right? Like, you have huge communities and lots of people who come in and they're ready for TGE, but the ones who really stick around and stay loyal are the ones who feel that emotional pull or that kind of soul tie to the project or to the founder or to the overarching mission or vision. And that's what I really like to tap into in my job.
Yeah, that's, you said it perfectly. 100%. So I guess, the space is dominated by tech and innovation. Like, you've just mentioned why you think storytelling is a powerful tool, because it's about connection. But what's the most compelling story that you've seen or that has worked in Web3, and what made it resonate?
That's such a tough one because I've worked with so many different clients. I've had more than 50 clients over the last few years that I've worked with, and each of them comes in with a very unique and personal story. But one that's coming to mind, I think, was during the NFT boom. Everybody was buying NFTs. There was an NFT project left and right. But one of them had a really compelling story about wanting to do something with the environment and try to make a difference that way. And yes, it was an NFT project. And so there were all of the conceptions that came with that. But he had a story about vividly remembering as a kid driving away from his family home as it was on fire. And it was one of those wildfires that had just kind of knocked out the entire city. And that story was so powerful, and it was such a driving force in him that even as a teenager, he knew that this was something that he wanted to do with his life, to change the world and hopefully make an impact on it. And the project itself was really cool, but in the sea of all of the NFTs at the time, it was really hard to make an impact unless you were doing something really huge. And at the time, they were so small; they were a little startup. And so we took that story and we ran with it. And I wonder if I'm on here by myself. But
No,
to everybody else,
here. I just thought
I
I'd
see.
Preview.
Scared me for a second. I'm like, oh my gosh, am I in here alone?
No.
But we took that story and we ran with it, and we were able to get some really great traction with reporters and great attention in the early stages, while the startup was still kind of getting their feet wet and getting things running. So you can have the great tech, you can have the great investors or the great backers or the incredible team members who have done something really powerful before. All of that does matter in the equation when you're trying to get yourself out there. But also having a really authentic and powerful story that resonates with a large group of people can be just as powerful as any of those other components.
Yeah, so my next question for you, actually, nice segue, is that how can projects go beyond just like announcing features or making the announcement? How can they go beyond that and weave in that human element into their story, to make that compelling?
I think it's an approach that has to be hit on every single angle, honestly. You really need to have like your messaging and your narrative absolutely nailed. That's one of my favorite parts of the work that I do, is sitting down with these founders and with the team and really getting to know these people and asking those in-depth questions, figuring out like who they are and why they think the way that they think. And if you can put together like a solid messaging that everybody on the team agrees on, this is our why and this is how we're going to do it, then you can kind of frame a story around that. And then everything that you're doing, from the imagery, the written content, the appearances that you're making on podcasts or X Spaces or in the media, all of that should tie back or have that red thread through it that ties back to that core mission and that core purpose or values that you have that your audience should always be resonating with. So it should be in the tagline on your website. It should be in the mission statement on, the X profile. It should be something that the founders are continually talking about in every circle, in every space that they're in. You kind of have to get a megaphone and really preach about what you're doing to get that attention and to get the followers coming your way.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So when you're creating the PR for community-driven space like crypto, how do you balance the technical depth with the emotional connection?
Honestly, I think it's one word, and that's why. I think why kind of solves all of it for you. The tech is the how, and then that emotional component is the why. Why would the user be drawn to this? What kind of benefit is it going to have to them? Why should they care? Why should they stick around and wait for 6 months, a year for TGE, or through several cycles and wait around and hold on to your coins? All of that is wrapped up in the why and not as much in the how. So yes, you do have to present both of them, but I really think it's the why that matters most. And actually, I do have a little bit of a slide that kind of explains that, which we can pull up whenever you want.
Yeah, great. Let's do it.
Okay, sure. Give me just 1 second while I try to present this. I'm a little bit rusty with this.
No problem.
Okay. All right, so we already touched on this a little bit. You asked this question, but like if you want to get noticed, you really do have to be everywhere. So like I said, have your sites up to date, identify your spokespeople, give them specific lanes too. Like I like to assemble the founding team almost like the Power Rangers. Everybody's got their colored suit. If it's orange or yellow or green or blue or whatever the color of the suit is, you've got your suit that you wear, you have your superpower that you have, and that's your lane. And you got to take that over and be the voice in that space for your specific company or your project. I think that's really, really important, especially when you're building these communities. And these communities care a lot about the founders and the people behind the tech. You'll see the kind of following that Vitalik has, or even Satoshi, and nobody knows who he is, right? There are people who have dreams about him, who claim to have met him. And, there's so much that ties into that people connection. So I really think that's important. But getting back to what really is important, a lot of the clients, and even myself, especially like when it's your baby, when it's your project, and it's something you care about so much, you're thinking about the what and the how 80% of the time. That's what matters to you. That's what you focus on. But that's not what the rest of the world is really caring about. You're trying to make this happen, but they're not thinking about that. They're thinking about, well, why does this need to happen? Why does it matter to me? So what the media or what the rest of the world is really interested in, 50% of it is why. And then 30% of it is who. So why is this going to matter? And who is this actually going to be applicable for? Who does this make sense for? Who's going to be that audience? And then the what and the how are just a small fraction of it. So it kind of flips the script on how we think about things. But the why, which is that human element, is honestly the most important part. I do have a couple more slides that I can dive into here if we want to really touch on all of the what and how and who and why.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we should go that way, and then we can sort of circle back to my questions. Absolutely. I think this is great value for people watching, but also those that will watch back. Anastasia, go for it.
Okay. So going into the what and the how, which again is like combined 20% of the equation, all you need to answer is what is happening and how did you make it happen? That's as simple as it is. Any of the posts that you have on X, any of the big announcements that you do where you're talking about things, even if you're doing like a live stream, the what is happening and the how it happened can all be explained in 20 to 30 seconds. But it's the why and again, the who that really matters. So I like to, before I go through any announcement or, kind of any PR campaign with a client, I'm always doing the toddler why session, as I like to call it. And I give them a warning. It's annoying. I know it's annoying, but I need to sit down and I need to just ask why. So you're going to keep explaining and I'm going to keep asking why. Well, why? And it's to get to the real point of things. It's to answer those questions that sometimes when we're in the intensity of it all and thinking about these high level tech decisions, we're not thinking about those simple things, but it's actually the simple things that make all of the difference in your story or your tagline or how you're presented to your audience. So why is everything? And the questions you should be asking yourself are like, why is this important? And why does it matter right now? In the grand scheme of things, why does this need to happen today? Or why do people need access to this new technology right now? And why is it different than others? Or why is it better than others? It doesn't have to be the first, but if it isn't the first, it should be something a little different that people can have some new excitement about when they're hearing about it. And in my opinion, the most important question, why should people care? What is the personal tie into it for them? And it could be something as simple as they're going to make money, or it's going to be more secure for them to do what they're already doing, or a whole litany of reasons. But there should be a really solid reason why your audiences or the entire world should care about your product, depending on what it is. And then when we're looking at the who do you want to care? Sometimes who you want to care might not actually match up with who's going to care, or at least at the stage that you're in. And then with who you want to have caring and who's actually going to care, who can you find that's going to be genuinely interested in talking about this and sharing it with others? This could be a community member. This could be someone who's going to help be kind of a megaphone for what you're working on. It could be like, a KOL, even if they really believe in your project. It could be an investor. There are a number of different kinds of people that could really be interested in this. And then, are they going to help you grow your platform and not just profit from it? Because those are the people that you should really be trying to seek out and getting that attention from. It's difficult to create organic attention. So if you're going to do it, you should definitely be aiming for the people who matter the most.
Before you go on to the next slide, I wanted to ask, because this kind of ties into my next question, so I just kind of want to keep it flow, like the community, the connections and the amplification. And you mentioned KOLs, but like building bridges between the projects and the people. So from your perspective, what makes a community truly engaged versus just active on paper?
Yeah, it's got to be more than just the standard campaigns. It's got to be more than just waiting for the airdrop or waiting for the TGE. There has to be a promise of something bigger. And crypto is full of those promises. And in many ways, it can sometimes feel scammy, right? Like we're all thinking about, to the moon with our next coin, or that we're going to retire in the next year because we're going to find the perfect bag and everything will be great. But the people in this industry really are believers in a future that doesn't exist yet. And they're building for that future right now. And I think there's that essence to the builders and the dreamers and the people who, first you're laughed at and then they're jealous that they didn't have the idea that you had, right? I think that industry is full of these people. And I think the community is also like-minded in that way. All of us are frustrated with whatever systems that we're living within or working within, or our governments or our financial systems. And we want something that feels more human and global. And actually that's what this tech does for us. So I don't know. I feel like I just went on a spiel there, but if that answers the question.
No, that was great. That was great. All right. You keep going with your slides, and I'm just going to jump in when I have questions, Anastasia, because I love what you're sharing with us. And I think there's a lot of value in what you bring to the table in this space, like personally, because I've worked with you, but also, as a PR, as the head of PR.
Well, thank you. I really, really love this space and honestly, like, adore the people that I work with. There are so many fascinating, interesting, dynamic characters in this space. And it's really incredible to see, even, it's been 4 years now, I've been exclusively working in crypto, but to see how things have changed in that amount of time, or to see the way that, a founder that I worked with a few years ago is doing now, it's really beautiful to feel like you left even half of a fingerprint on the industry. And yeah, that's why I'm still here and still loving it. But okay, I'm gonna go back to my slideshow now. uh, so when and where is also really important when you're thinking about like making a splash or making your presence known within a circle or within the industry as a whole. One thing that I've seen that happens so many times with, with clients or with their projects or with announcements or all sorts of things, we get so excited because we've been spending, months, sometimes years working on a project and sometimes delaying it or keeping the community waiting, and everybody just is so excited. But if you're not ready to make a splash yet, don't make a splash just for the sake of doing it. It's better to know that you're ready and you've got all your ducks in a row and then wait 3 days than it is to try to announce something or launch something 3 days before it's actually ready. You've only got one shot. And so make sure that you're giving it 100% of your effort and it's the best shot you can possibly get. I put this in here because it's topically very relevant. Try to avoid noisy times if you can. For example, we didn't all know today that Taylor Swift was going to announce her engagement to Travis Kelce. But once an announcement like that goes out, shut down the presses. Like, that the rest of the day it's going to be chaos and everybody's going to be focused on that. So maybe you should wait even until tomorrow to make your announcement or to make your big splash, because you don't want all of that attention going away from you and onto something else that's, the fad of the day. So I think when is really important. And of course, where is too. Is your audience developers? Where are you at in your stage as a company right now? Maybe you're looking at developers right now. You need to go to Discord. Are you trying to build out your community or your users? Then maybe you should be going to X or to Telegram. And if you want to make a splash in the media, or you want to have like some official credentials and credibility, getting that organic coverage in a really solid publication is kind of like your ticket. So that's something that you might really want to be doing if you're trying to attract investors or potential partners with big names. But of course, in my opinion, a combination of it is the best. And you can get a lot farther, a lot quicker if you're hitting every angle and making sure that you're telling stories that are really relevant specifically to those audiences. And that's all I had here. So I'm going to stop presenting, but thank you for letting me do that.
Yeah, no, that was awesome information. And I guess what I want to ask, like, how does hype help projects connect their stories with the right audiences? Like in terms of amplification, best practices for making content that doesn't just inform but inspires people to share. So for those that are just tuning in now, Anastasia is head of PR for Hype. And I know that you work with a number of different projects in connecting in different ways. So I just thought I might give you an opportunity to just infomercial here.
Sure. Well, I mean, Hype is a full service super agency. Like, it's a crypto super agency. We've got a department for pretty much everything. So clients can kind of come in and pick from a smorgasbord of what they'd really like to do with us. But the core thing that we're always making sure that we do is building a really strong brand and narrative and messaging that's unique to you. It aligns well with your story, who you are as a founder, but also the project that you're trying to build and the vibe you're trying to create with that. And so no matter which of the services you're going with, which we do have some core services that include like community, socials, creative, We've also got short form video, which has been doing incredible work lately. We've got PR, which I'm a part of. We also have founder branding, which helps to take over a founder's presence and really dive into their psyche and how they think and write about things. But no matter what, all of us are really working in tandem on that same goal. So in those first few weeks when we're engaging with a new client, that's kind of my number one goal, is to identify that narrative and that message and that red thread that ties through literally everything that all of us do. But we've got an incredible group of really, really talented people. Everybody on the team is a DGen. They've been in this industry for a long time. All of them are token holders of some kind, and many, if not most of them, are working on something personally as well. They're all like incredibly creative people. We've got too many of them to list, honestly, on this chat, but really, really love the team that I work with, and I'm so happy there.
Yeah, and I mean, I've just shared up on the screen for those that are watching just the website of Hype where you can go to. It is hy.pe. Unusual, but cool. This is the website that you can go to. I know that Hype is an incredible team because I have worked with Anastasia, but they're also a global team. So you can reach out to Anastasia if you need to connect with anyone in the team, but you can also follow them on X. Yeah. So
absolutely. Then there are many of us on X that you'll find. And Emily Lai is one of the big marketers in crypto. I know she gets a lot of inbound messages. You can reach out to me. I'm Bogwitch on X. So feel free to reach out to me there. You can also find me at the same handle on Telegram, or reach out to us through our website. There's also Felix AI on the website. If you're a little nervous about talking to us, you're not sure that you actually want services, you can ask Felix's AI and he'll help you out and see if it's a good fit.
Yeah, awesome. I might segue into the next segment, which is like the imposter syndrome, holding back and breaking through. And I know when we were getting on today's, like we were in the back in the, the waiting room to come on, we were actually talking about this. And I know we had a conversation last week about it as well. So this is like your personal reflection, practical advice regarding imposter syndrome. So like many people in Web3 feel the imposter syndrome. For me, I'm not technical enough. I don't belong here. I don't have the experience. I guess I'd love to open up that conversation. Have you experienced that yourself, and, open that up?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I have experienced it so many times and in so many situations. And I think it's like that shadow that kind of hangs over almost all of us. And most people have some sort of imposter syndrome, or at least they feel it at least a few times in their life. And for me, I think anytime that feeling comes up, that's a sign that you're doing something that's a little bit out of your comfort zone. It's a little bit of that step up into the next thing that you were really wanting to do. And so, you can turn it into one of those positive things, but that doesn't mean that the feeling isn't real. Before we got on this call, my hands were clammy. I was sweaty. I could feel my heart beating in my chest, and, was like feeling hot. All of that is very real, and it's not something that you can just magically make go away. But I think accepting that that's a human response, a human reaction, and we're going to be fine, even if we have sweaty hands or we mess something up, or if I think when you put me on the screen that I just lost you, like, we can recover and we'll move forward and everything's going to be fine.
For me, sorry, Anastasia, for me, like, I get the sweats as well. I also have the sweaty, but like and I've taught meditation and breathing. So I tend to draw on those tools of deep breaths, long exhales, but it doesn't mean that I don't get those jitteries as well, even as a presenter. And, so I know for all of those listening that Anastasia also does 101 media training for anyone that's interesting. But I guess, how did you personally navigate those moments of doubt in your career?
I mean, there are multiple different routes. I think when you're feeling really uncertain of yourself, go to someone that you respect and get a little piece of advice from them, or be honest with them and tell them, hey, I'm not feeling super confident in myself. I'm going to tell this story and he may get upset with me for it. So we'll see. I hope I don't get fired. But our now CEO at Hype, Danny, when he hired me on to start as head of PR, that was my first time ever starting up, like a mini agency within an agency, or building a department from scratch. I had no idea how to put together the budgets or the packaging options or any of those things. Any agency that I'd been in, it had already been established, and I was just there to kind of do the work as it was sold. I didn't have to sell the work. So there were all of these new things that I felt completely overwhelmed by and completely underqualified for. And I came to him and I said, Danny, I know you hired me, but I don't know if I'm actually qualified for this job. And he sent me this silly video by Riva Tez. And basically it's this conversation where she says, everything is a scam. Expertise, being the smartest person in the room, being the most capable in the room, being the one who knows the most about a certain subject, all of that is a scam. And it's really just that idea that's holding you back from the potential of what you become. So if you recognize that everything's a scam and you can just learn your way into anything and be the expert in the room, all of a sudden you kind of become one and everybody else starts thinking so. And it's this weird domino effect where you haven't really changed at all, but the way that you're approaching it and the way that you're feeling about yourself has. And the way that it's received by others immediately changes as well.
Yeah, I think that's the mindset shift, isn't it? The mindset that helps you to overcome that imposter syndrome. So I guess this is personal to me, this question, but what advice would you give to women and emerging talent stepping into this fast-paced industry?
I would say any woman in STEM typically has to work 2 to 3 times harder to get into the same level of a position as another man. And that's just because of the educational differences, the societal differences, all of the obstacles that are in your way. It makes it a lot more difficult to do the same thing in crypto as, another bald crypto guy who's building a chain. So with that in mind, if you're already there, you have no reason to doubt yourself. You're one of a few, and you should be bringing others in too, because this industry is for everyone. It's for all of us. But you're one of a few who have stuck through it and dealt with those obstacles and been the only woman in the room so many times. So keep showing up, because if you don't stick around, then there won't be a female expert in the room. And there won't be a woman to lead the next generation of women into crypto and make it more of a 50-50 space, and not, so exciting when we show up to, a little side conference or something like that, and there's, a woman there that we know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really important to encourage the next generation to step into this industry as well, and to build the confidence with that generation, particularly with women, because it's been a minority in the industry for so long. But I've actually seen that evolving and changing. So I'm excited about that. But for those that, I don't know if we have any questions in the audience for Anastasia, but I'll invite questions from the audience. But I guess for anyone who is listening and would like to collaborate with you, the best place to reach out to you is on X and on the website. And are there any particular types of people or roles or skills that Hype is especially looking for right now?
That would
Because
be
you have talent partners, right?
Yes, we do. We have an entire almost like separate agency that's the talent agency, and they do incredible work. Rob Perry would be the guy to talk to about any of those job openings. For whatever I know that there is or there might be, he knows even better. So Rob Perry would be the one to talk to you about that.
Awesome. I'm seeing a comment from Rachel Sachs, ETH, not the bald crypto guy. And I know that like last week, you put out a post about like maybe shaving your head off. Do you want to talk around that and like what kind of that kind of blew out into something else? Do you want to talk around that, Anastasia?
Sure. I mean, I don't know. It took me a while to get more active on Twitter and to share the silly things that I think about. I do share PR insights often, maybe not often enough, but there's more than the occasional shit post on there, and that was definitely one of them. There's this running joke that like if you are a founder in crypto and you are bald, that's like one of the keys to success. It's just kind of written in the stars. Or if you get into crypto, that it's going to make your hair fall out because it's so stressful, which both of those things I think are, kind of true. Also, that's just what, 30 to 40% of men already end up bald anyway. So statistically, that'd just be what would happen. But, thinking about all of these icons in crypto and the jokes that are made about being bald in crypto, I thought it would be funny to be like, well, if I shave my head, maybe I could be an icon too.
Well, here's the thing. You don't need to shave your head to be an icon. You already are an icon. But I would say crypto has sort of given me more of those platinum silvers in my hair. I haven't gone bald, but definitely got more platinum silvers than that.
Oh, me too.
Let's unpack that icon because what is the icon and how does that tie into everything that we've talked about today about the storytelling, about the connections with community? Like what's your point of view on that?
I mean, there are so many clients that will come in and they'll be like, I want to be the Elon Musk of XYZ. And it's like, okay, I see that. Not everyone has to be like an icon. You don't have to be this, incredible, riveting person who carries the brand on their shoulders. And if you're not around, like the company isn't going to survive. It doesn't have to be that way. I think in crypto, actually, you can do a lot more with like a team-led, team-led marketing or team-led communications, or bringing your entire team into the picture. So that it's not just one person who's carrying the weight of all of that. But I mean, you guys really have to be active. You got to be having fun, going and doing things, showing up to the events, posting regularly on Twitter, not just stuff about what's going on with your project or, the standard updates, but what's going on with your life too. Or if you guys have an offsite or you're doing something, do the human things, being human really matters in tech. It really matters in crypto. And I would argue it matters almost even more because we're a global industry. We're all over the world. And so it is each other that ties us so deeply to these projects. And we really have to maintain those ties and maintain those connections to maintain the loyalty.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it personalizes it, right? And it comes back to that human connection, not just the tech, where we've been caught. But let's talk the title of the show today was diving into the attention economy and storytelling in crypto. And I feel like we've really covered the storytelling today. But I want to dive a little bit more into attention economy. Let's like unpack that as well and talk a bit more about that. Thoughts?
I mean, I'm happy to. Of course, like coming from the public relations side, I will say my views on this are going to be biased. But I think, especially now when we've got so much going on with AI and you're seeing, AI takeovers in all sorts of ways. I mean, it's great. It's helping us with so much of our work and helping us to be efficient. I have no problem with AI, but I do think with the spike in the usage of AI and everybody quickly being able to spot AI created content, I think authenticity is going to be worth its weight in gold. I think that, again, I keep coming back to it, but that human element, that human touch, the vibe that you specifically bring when you walk into a room or you join a space or you share an opinion and it's so obvious that it's yours, you said it the way that you'd say it. Those are things that, at least right now, the AI can't do it. It can't predict it the way that you do. It's working on patterns. It's not working on, your essence and thinking outside the box the way that you do. And so as we're getting so much more technologically sophisticated, I think it's going to be those conversations in the room. It's going to be that shit post. It's going to be the funny update or the silly tweet or whatever it is that really drives those connections in a way that's different than it was before. We saw the rise of Kaido and Cookie and yapping and, how quickly that blew up. And then now we're not seeing that as much anymore. And we're seeing some fatigue with that. We're seeing fatigue with AI. So yeah, I think authenticity is going to be the new alpha.
I 100% agree with you. Like you said, the AI does help with productivity of certain things, but it can't show up in the room.
Not yet.
Not yet. Well, the robots are coming, but right now it can't show up as Anastasia or Crypto Queen in the room. And
Right.
the people feel that vibe and that authenticity, and that's what's real, And so showing up as yourself, I'm a true believer in being you. You have no other job other than to be you and show up as you. Of course, be professional and tell your story, but just showing up as you, right? Like, is so important. And I think that's what people truly connect to. Yeah.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I think people have been designed and like evolved over millennia now to be kind of a group organism, to want to be a part of a community, to want to be, a part of that circle. And it used to be, if you didn't play nice or you weren't well liked, then you might not get something to eat. Or maybe they weren't gonna, take care of you if you broke your leg and carry you in all of your things and weigh themselves down for your own benefit. That feeling of human connection, that was at one time, it was tied to survival. Now it's something a little bit different, but that core feeling and that core need to feel recognized and to feel like you're a part of something, a part of a community, it's ingrained within all of us. And I think storytelling really uniquely taps into that.
Yeah. And I actually feel like the connection of the storytelling and the attention economy, having a very compelling story is actually what gains the attention.
Yeah.
So I feel like that is the bridge, if you like, really to everything. I guess I might just go over, for those that just sort of tuned in or came in late, we might go through some of the key takeaways from you, Anastasia. So we talked about storytelling. The biggest thing I got was your why. Keep coming back to your why and then your who. And like the when and the where also. I don't know if you want to recap on anything else that we covered. They were my key takeaways.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, the why matters the most. Being really authentic and knowing your story, figuring out your story, and finding a way to share it in every space with every audience that applies to you. That's really, really important for gaining that attention and that traction and that mind share. Um, yeah, having a really solid why. It all kind of ties together. It's all kind of the same thing. The storytelling, the finding your why, the authenticity and the human element, all of it is kind of the same sandwich, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think it's like that's the gel that connects with your community as well. Um, and I was, I'm just going back to a story that you told about wearing your different colored suits in your team. And,
Yeah.
I love that. Like that, even that itself is a storytelling. And before we wrap up, I just want to say, like, Anastasia, like even in your tweets, they're very unique, they're very authentic. And I really would recommend to people in the space to find their uniqueness, because that's your authenticity of yourself, and to show up like that. Like you truly, like, because I've known you for a little while now, and we've, like I said, we work together, but you truly show up as you, and you bring a vibe that is resonates with people and brings people in. And I love that about you. So that for me is another key takeaway, is not to duplicate someone else, but to
Mhm.
show up as you, and bring
Yeah.
your vibe to the space, because that's what people love, right? Well, that's what
Right.
I anyway.
Yeah, and you'll never feel better connecting with others when unless it's like actually you. If you're putting yourself into it, if you're showing up authentically, if you're copying and pasting somebody else's tweet and having a little laugh about it, that's fun. But showing yourself and who you are and the way that you think, you'll end up being liked for who you are. And like that's what all of us want. All of us want to be liked for who we are. All of us want people to agree with our opinions. And if you're actually sharing them authentically, you're going to start bringing in people who think the way that you do and like you for who you are. So I love X for that.
Yeah, I do too. And I guess that's where I found my voice. And that's why I like being in this space. It's not just about being in crypto, but I get to show up as me and
Mhm.
do what I love to do, and not, I'm not trying to duplicate anyone. I've had, people say certain things back to me, and I go, oh, I'm just doing me, right? Like,
Mhm.
I'm not trying to duplicate anyone. I'm just showing up as me, a gal from Australia in the space. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on today, Anastasia, as always. And anytime that you'd like to come back, I'd love to have you. Yeah, any closing comments?
I think, you know your why. And if you don't know your why, go talk to some people and you'll be able to figure it out. But everybody's got a why. Everybody's got a really unique and important story that others will care about. So you should be sharing it and you'll find your community. Thank you so much, Crypto Queen. This has been so much fun. I really appreciate you inviting me onto your show and for your time.
Yeah, no, I absolutely always love our chats, Anastasia, and it was great to go live today with you. And I think, you brought some really great golden nuggets for people, to reflect on the why they're doing what they're doing. So thank you for your time. Big love to everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the Crypto Queen Perspective. New branding, new way of doing things around here. So yeah, I really loved it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Ciao. Oh, before I go, one more thing. I have Strobe Finance coming on for a live stream tomorrow. So I'm pretty excited about that. Global team as well. So tune in for that. Anyone that's listening, take care. And until tomorrow. Thanks, Anastasia.